Welcome to February. When I think of February, I think of Valentine's Day and relationships. So, this month on the Wednesday podcast episodes, I want to share some ideas on improving relationships, whether it is with your spouse or significant other, kids, family members, friends, coworkers, or anyone you come in contact with. Communication is something we use in every relationship we have every single day. Communication includes not only the words we use, but also how we say it and our body language. When we use communication skills such as active listening and asking clarifying questions, our relationships flourish. But if we don't, we will find ourselves in the midst of some unpleasant times. I want you to flourish in your relationships by communicating better. So, this month, I will discuss how assumptions, avoidance and distractions, defensiveness, and fear are barriers to communication and what to do about them. So, today, I'm starting out with assumptions. So, what is the definition of assumptions? Well, the root word is assume, to accept something to be true without question or proof, to take something for granted, to presume. In a relationship or in communication, one might think they already know what the other person is thinking without asking or figuring out the facts. This can mean that they don't bother to listen fully to what the other person is saying. But do you know what assume really means, right? When you take apart the word, to assume means to make an ass out of you and me. Not a great place to be. So when I think of assumptions, I think of mind reading and jumping to conclusions. So what's mind reading? Mind reading is the ability to discern the thoughts of others without the normal means of communication, like asking questions. Mind reading is like the crystal ball approach to communication. It's the stories and scripts that run through our mind about what we think the other person is thinking and feeling without asking them. So, for example, you make up and play out scenes in your mind about how conversation will go with another person. You're predetermining what they will say and how they respond to what you say. You basically write out or plan out the script, like in a play or a movie, about how the conversation will go. So you start out by what you will say to the other person. And then in your head, you would determine what the other person will say and how they will respond. And then you will make up what you will say and how you respond to their response. And it continues and continues and continues. And all of this is done in your head without communicating to the other person. You're predetermining their response. But you don't really even know. Another one is jumping to conclusions. This often happens when a person hears a part of what is being said and assumes they know what is next based on maybe their own preconceived notions, their prejudices, their unconscious bias, or past experiences. It's when a person makes a quick judgment about something without listening to all of the information. So, for example, you go out to eat at a Mexican restaurant with some of your friend group, but you don't invite one friend because she doesn't really like Mexican food and she's usually busy on Wednesday nights. This one friend finds out and gets really upset. You just assumed she wouldn't go out to dinner with you because she doesn't really like Mexican. She said it before. And, oftentimes she's busy on Wednesdays, but you didn't ask. It's also when you stop talking to somebody who is not responding because you think they don't want to talk to you, or you think they just never listen to you, or they don't care about you. You're jumping to conclusions based on some maybe prior experiences or predetermined notions in your head. Can you see how assuming, mind reading, and jumping to conclusions can cause problems in communication? Can you remember a few times that maybe you have jumped to a conclusion or assumed you knew what someone was thinking or feeling? How did it turn out? I can remember lots of times, and the communication and the situation and conversation did not go over well. So, why are assuming, mind reading, and jumping to conclusions barriers to communication? Well, because it really causes a lot of misunderstanding and mistakes in our judgment. It causes a lot of hurt feelings and more communication problems. You're basically telling another person what they are thinking and feeling. And I don't know about you, but I don't like that. And I don't think too many people do. Oh, shoot. Did you just catch that? I just did it. I just assumed that most people don't like being told what to think and feel. It's so easy to do. Assuming, mind reading, and jumping to conclusions quickly shuts down a conversation, providing evidence that you're really not listening. It can cause instant defensiveness in a lot of people, distrust, and unleashing a whole bag full of negative thoughts and feelings, which often can turn into a fight. Then there's the thing where people often personalize a response from someone or question what they did. So, in the example above, when that person was not responding to you, when you're talking to them and you choose to think that they don't want to talk to you or they never listen to you or they don't care about you, you're jumping to conclusions. You don't really know the reason they're not responding. It may have nothing to do with you. They're most likely preoccupied with thoughts in their own heads, which could be related to something that worked that day or something that happened on the way home. They might not be feeling very well. They might not have gotten a lot of sleep. They may have gotten some hard news that they haven't told you yet. Without asking, you don't know. Often what you're thinking is not what they're thinking. Assuming you know causes a lot of problems and breakdowns in communication and in relationships. So, what can you do about it? Instead of assuming, mind reading, or jumping to conclusions, understand your own biases and your limited knowledge about what's going on. So, understand yourself. Like, where are you coming from? Where are your past experiences? What are some of the things that you are often just jumping to conclusions about? You need to be open to another person's perspective. You need to be open to hearing what the other person has to say or where they're coming from. Check in with yourself. Being more self aware of your own thoughts and feelings and what's going on inside you, your own internal dialogue, your prejudices, your predetermined notions, all of that helps in communication. Noticing when someone jumps to conclusions or tells you how you are supposed to think and feel. Well, how do you respond to that? What are your thoughts and feelings that you have when someone does that to you? Notice and communicate early. Handle small issues before they turn into big ones. So, how does this play out if you're trying to help improve your relationships by communicating better? Well, first, when you're initiating a conversation, get the person's attention. If they're distracted, if they're doing something else, like watching TV, reading, or scrolling on their phone, or making dinner, or doing whatever, their attention is not on you. Call out their name. Get closer to them. Look them in the eyes. Get their attention first. Ask if this is a good time to talk for a few minutes. If not, ask them when a good time would be. And then say what you want to say clearly and honestly without using harmful or unkind words. Be specific and don't beat around the bush and assume that they hear your hints, your suggestions. And then wait, open up your ears and close your mouth. So, how do you listen better? Stop what you're doing. Stop the mental chatter. Pay attention to the other person. Put all distractions down and create the time and the space to be truly, truly present and hear and listen to the other person. And then listen to understand. Listen to the entire message in order to understand what the other person is saying. If you don't understand, ask clarifying questions. What do you mean by that? Can you tell me more? We're not listening to solve problems. We're listening to understand where the other person is coming from. What are they actually saying? What are they feeling? And then restating what that person is communicating to you in your own words, and ask if you've heard it correctly or if that is the meaning of their intent. And pay attention, not only to their words, but to their feelings, and acknowledge them. Acknowledge their feelings. Ask them what they would like from you. And don't immediately try to fix an issue. Many times, the other person just needs to express their thoughts, to be heard, to express their feelings and be acknowledged. When you don't know what to say, or when there really isn't anything to say, a simple touch or embrace, like a hug, can say and mean a lot. Communication is a skill that we use every day, but we don't often pay attention to how we are doing. Communication affects every single one of our relationships with others and with ourselves. Evaluate yourself. Notice when you assume what another person is thinking or feeling, or when you jump to conclusions. How did you feel? How did you respond? How did the other person respond? How would you like to see conversations go? And what can you do to change it? I hope you took a few things away from today that can help you change your communication to a more positive, more understanding pattern. Next Wednesday, I will discuss avoidance and distraction in communication. Have a great rest of your day.